This billionaire slapped a beggar in front of his two daughters. Years later, when he lost everything and begged on the same road, two women stopped their car. Rain fell like it had a mission. It didn't fall gently like blessing. It fell hard. Heavy drops slapping the ground, washing gutters, turning the roadside into a stream of brown water and broken dignity. The kind of rain that makes people pull their clothes tighter and their hearts tighter too. Under the weak shelter of a rusted kiosk, a poor man stood with two tiny girls pressed against him. One was about 5, the other about 7. Their clothes were clean but tired, like they had been washed many times and forgiven too little. The younger one held a plastic bowl with a crack on the side. The older one tried to look brave, but hunger makes even bravery tremble. The man's name was Musa. In another life he had worked, carrying goods at the market, washing cars, pushing wheelbarrows, anything that allowed him to return home with something. But that week, work had dried up like a river in Harmattan. And when hunger enters a house, it doesn't knock. It sits down like it owns the place. Musa cleared his throat and stepped closer to the road, careful not to block anyone. "Please," he called softly to a passing driver. "Even small food. Not money, just food for my children." The driver looked through him as if Musa was smoke. Another car rolled past. A woman inside held her nose like poverty had a smell. A bus conductor shouted, "Shift," and splashed muddy water that hit Musa's leg. Musa didn't even flinch. Pain had become normal. Shame had become clothing. The younger girl tugged his shirt. "Papa, will we eat today?" Musa swallowed. His throat was dry, but his voice tried to stay strong. "Yes," he lied kindly. "We will eat." The older girl stared at the road with quiet eyes that had seen too much waiting. She did not ask questions. She simply held her sister's hand tighter, like she could squeeze hunger out of her palm. Then the air changed. A convoy approached, 2 black SUVs, clean like polished stones, moving slowly as if the road belonged to them. People turned their heads. Even the rain seemed to step aside. One SUV stopped near Musa, close enough for the heat of wealth to feel real. The back door opened, leather shoes touched the wet ground. A tall man stepped out, dressed like someone who never begged for anything in his life. An umbrella appeared above his head immediately, held by an assistant who looked nervous. The man's eyes landed on Musa and the 2 girls, and Musa, without thinking, took one step forward and lifted his cracked bowl. "Sir," he said, voice shaking, "please, just food for my children." The billionaire's face tightened. For a moment, the rain was the only sound. Then the man spoke. Slowly, like every word was heavier than Musa's whole life. "Did you just step toward my car?" Musa froze. The girls held their breath, and the road, wet and crowded, suddenly felt like a stage where something terrible was about to happen. The billionaire stared at Musa the way people stare at dirt on a white shirt, like something that shouldn't be close. Musa's hands trembled around the cracked bowl. He wanted to step back, but hunger was behind him and shame was in front of him. The 2 little girls clung to his wrapper as if it was the only wall between them and the world. The assistant holding the umbrella leaned close and whispered, "Sir, let's go, it's raining." But the billionaire didn't move. He looked Musa up and down, eyes pausing on the children. "So this is your job?" he said, voice sharp. "To stand on the road and perform poverty?" Musa swallowed hard. "No, sir, I'm only asking for food. My daughters—" "Don't speak as if I owe you anything," the billionaire cut in. People around began to notice. A woman selling oranges shifted closer. A bus driver slowed down to watch. Even those who were soaked by rain suddenly found time for entertainment. Misery always gathers an audience. Musa lowered the bowl slightly, forcing respect into his voice. "Sir, may God bless you, I'm not asking for money. Just something to eat. The little one hasn't eaten since yesterday." The younger girl's lips were pale. She blinked slowly like someone too tired to cry. The older one stood straighter, chin up, but her eyes were wide, watching the billionaire like he was a wild animal. The billionaire let out a short laugh that had no kindness inside it. "Since yesterday?" he repeated. And what were you doing yesterday, waiting for manna from heaven? Musa's face tightened. He could have explained. He could have begged better. He could have spoken about lost jobs and rising prices and how the world doesn't care if a man has children. But he remembered his daughters were listening. He didn't want them to learn bitterness from his mouth. So he simply said, "I've tried, sir." The billionaire stepped closer. Rain dotted the man's expensive suit, but the umbrella stayed perfectly positioned. The assistant adjusted it quickly, like protecting a king from nature itself. The billionaire's voice dropped low, but it carried like thunder. "You're raising beggars," he said, "teaching them that pity is a profession." Musa flinched as if the words were stones. The older daughter's eyes flashed. She opened her mouth, maybe to defend her father, but Musa gently squeezed her shoulder. A silent message. "Don't." Musa bowed his head again. "Sir, forgive me. We'll move." He turned slightly, pulling the girls with him, but the billionaire's pride had already been offended by Musa's existence. It wasn't enough for Musa to move. The billionaire wanted Musa to feel small. Some people don't just want to pass by your suffering, they want to stand on it. Musa took one more step away. Then it happened. A quick motion, like swatting a fly. Slap. The sound cracked through the rain and through Musa's spirit. Musa stumbled, his cheek burning. For a second he didn't understand what had happened. Then the sting spread and shame followed it like shadow. The younger girl screamed. A small, sharp cry that cut straight into the hearts of those who still had hearts. "Papa!" The older girl froze. Her eyes filled instantly. She looked at her father's face, then at the billionaire, then back at her father as if her mind couldn't accept the world could be this wicked. Musa's hands shook. The bowl almost slipped from his fingers. People gasped. Someone murmured, "Ah." But no one stepped forward. No one told the billionaire he was wrong. Because fear is louder than justice when money is involved. Musa slowly touched his cheek. His eyes watered, not just from pain but from humiliation. He didn't shout. He didn't curse. He didn't fight back. He simply looked down at the wet ground, and he began to cry, quietly, the way a man cries when he has swallowed too many disappointments to cry loudly. The billionaire stared at him, satisfied. "Next time," he said coldly, "learn your place." He turned and walked back to the SUV, as if he had done nothing at all. The door shut. The convoy moved, and Musa remained standing in the rain with his two daughters, holding a cracked bowl, a burning cheek, and a wound that would not heal quickly. Musa did not move for a long moment. Rain drummed on his shoulders and ran down his face, mixing with the tears he refused to wipe. The road had become noisy again. Engines revving, horns complaining, people returning to their lives as if a man had not just been broken in public. The oranges woman clicked her tongue and muttered, "God forgive rich people." Then she returned to arranging her fruits because sympathy does not pay rent. A bus rolled by. A boy laughed. Someone else whispered, "That man should not have gone close to his car." As if hunger has manners. Musa's older daughter, Zainab, stepped in front of him like a tiny shield. Her small body trembled with rage she did not know how to carry. She stared down the road where the convoy had disappeared, fists clenched so tight her nails pressed into her palms. The younger one, Ralia, clung to Musa's leg and sobbed, "Papa, Papa, why did he beat you? Did we do something?" Musa knelt slowly the way an old tree bends under wind. He pulled both girls into his arms. Their hair smelled of rain and dust and childhood. "No," Musa whispered. His voice was rough. "You did nothing." Zainab's tears fell now too, but she tried to hide them by blinking hard. "Papa, let me throw stone at his car next time," she said, a child's idea of justice. Musa shook his head. "No, my daughter." "But he slapped you," Zainab cried, her voice cracking. "He slapped you like you are not a human being." Musa closed his eyes. The slap still rang in his skin. Yet the real pain was deeper. His daughters had watched their father become small. He cupped Zainab's face gently. Listen to me, he said. Power can slap, money can shout, but do you know what they cannot buy? The girls stared at him through tears. Character, Musa said. Mercy, a clean heart. Ralia sniffed. Papa, will God punish him? Musa looked up at the dark sky, rain falling like questions with no answers. He breathed in and out slowly. I don't know how God will teach him, he said, but I know God is watching. He stood and took their hands. The bowl in his other hand felt heavier now, not because it was full, but because it carried humiliation. They began to walk home, barefoot through muddy puddles. All the way, Zainab kept turning back, as if she could still see the billionaire's face in the rain. Ralia kept rubbing Musa's hand, like she could erase the slap by touch. At home, their room was small, with a roof that leaked in two corners. Musa placed a bucket under one leak and an old bowl under the other. Then he washed his face. The water stung his cheek where the billionaire's palm had landed. When he looked into the cracked mirror, he saw a man who had tried his best and still got slapped. He sat on the floor, pulling the girls close. Tonight, he began quietly, I will tell you something your mother used to tell me. The girls leaned in, silent now. Musa took a deep breath. Some people are rich in money, he said, but poor in spirit. Some people are poor in money, but rich in dignity. The world will confuse you and tell you money is everything. It is not. Zainab wiped her tears with the back of her hand. So what do we do, Papa? Musa's voice softened. We survive, he said, and we don't become wicked. He looked from one small face to the other. Promise me something, he said. The girls nodded immediately. If one day you become great, Musa continued, if you wear good clothes and enter fine cars, never use your greatness to crush another person. Never laugh at hungry people. Never slap a poor man with your eyes, even if you don't slap him with your hands. Zainab's lips trembled. We promise. Ralia whispered the same, smaller but firm. I promise, Papa. Musa held them tighter. Outside, the rain continued. Inside, something else began to grow, quietly. Not revenge, not hatred. A seed, and seeds do not shout when they enter the ground. They wait. Morning came with the smell of wet earth and cold disappointment. Musa woke early before the girls and sat for a while staring at the roof as if he could negotiate with life. His cheek was no longer burning, but the memory still did. The slap had entered the house with them. It sat in the corner like an unwanted visitor. He stood up quietly, tied his worn slippers, and stepped outside. Work was work, even when it refused to look at you. At the market, Musa carried loads for traders who paid him with insults and small change. He pushed wheelbarrows, ran errands, begged for any task that could become food. By afternoon, his back ached, but his pockets were still too light. He returned home with only a small bag of Gary and groundnuts. Zainab tried to smile when she saw it. Ralia clapped weakly, because children learn to celebrate even crumbs. That evening, Musa sat outside the kiosk again, not on the road this time, but beside it, far from cars and pride. He told himself he would not beg openly again. He would rather hunger bite him than let shame bite his daughters twice. He was sitting there when a man parked a simple car nearby. Not a convoy, not a throne on wheels. The man stepped out holding a nylon bag. He looked like someone who worked for his money, not someone who worshipped it. He bought roasted corn from a woman, then noticed Musa. Noticed, truly noticed. The way people notice a person, not a problem. Good evening, the man said. Musa nodded cautiously. Good evening, sir. The man studied him for a moment. I saw something yesterday, he said slowly. On this road. Musa's stomach tightened. He looked away. I don't want trouble, he murmured. The man raised a hand. No trouble, he said. Only, I couldn't sleep well after it. Musa's eyes flickered toward him. You were there? I was, the man said. I was in a taxi behind that convoy. Silence hung between them. Then the man placed the nylon bag on the ground and pushed it gently toward Musa. Inside were simple things: rice, bread, beans, small sachets of milk. Not riches, not luxury, just relief. Musa's throat tightened immediately. "Sir, I can't," the man interrupted softly. "It is not pity. It is food. Your children should not suffer, because another man has pride." Musa's hands hovered over the bag like it might disappear if he touched it. His eyes watered again, but this time the tears carried a different taste. "What is your name?" Musa asked. The man smiled. "People call me Mr. Aiken," he said. "I have a small printing shop not far from here." Musa nodded slowly, still suspicious of kindness. "Poverty teaches you that gifts often come with hooks." Mr. Aiken sat on the edge of the kiosk bench, keeping a respectful distance. "I won't ask you questions that will shame you," he said. "But tell me, can you read and write?" "Yes," Musa answered. "I finished secondary school. Life just happened." Mr. Aiken nodded like he understood that sentence more than most. "I need someone at my shop," he said. "Not a beggar, a worker. If you can come tomorrow, I will pay you weekly." Musa blinked. "Work?" "Yes," Mr. Aiken said. "Work." Musa's voice broke. "Sir, why?" Mr. Aiken looked him straight in the eyes. "Because yesterday I saw a man with money slap a man with dignity," he said, "and I decided I would not be part of the crowd that watched." Musa bowed his head. His shoulders shook. He didn't want to cry again, but gratitude is also heavy. Mr. Aiken stood up. "And one more thing," he added. "Those two girls. They should be in school." Musa's heart dropped. "They were," he said quickly. "But I couldn't pay again." Mr. Aiken nodded once, firm. "Bring their school details," he said. "Not because they will owe me, because education is the only umbrella that doesn't tear in rain." Then he walked away. No convoy, no drama, just a man with a different heart. Musa remained there for a long time staring at the nylon bag. Zainab and Ralia would eat tonight, but more than that. For the first time since the slap, Musa felt something he had almost forgotten how to feel. Hope. That night, Musa entered the room carrying the nylon bag like it was a fragile miracle. Zainab's eyes widened. Ralia sat up so fast she almost fell. "Papa." "Food?" Ralia whispered, like saying it loudly might chase it away. Musa nodded, and for the first time in days, his voice sounded like it belonged to a living man. "Yes," he said. "Food." Zainab rushed to open the bag. When she saw bread and rice, her mouth opened in silent shock. She didn't even grab anything. She just looked at her father as if asking, "Is this real?" "Who gave you this?" she asked. Musa sat down slowly. "A man," he said. "His name is Mr. Aiken." Ralia clapped and laughed a little, then suddenly began to cry at the same time. "God bless Mr. Aiken," she shouted between sobs. "God bless him." Musa pulled her into his lap. "Amen," he murmured. Zainab's eyes narrowed, careful the way older children become when life has taught them suspicion. "Why did he help us, Papa?" Musa sighed. "He saw what happened yesterday," he said. "He said he couldn't sleep well after it." Zainab looked down at the floor. The slap returned to her face like a shadow. "So, some rich people are wicked," she whispered, "and some are good." Musa nodded. "Yes." He stood and began to prepare food. It wasn't a feast, but it was warm, and it filled the house with a smell that made the walls feel less cruel. As they ate, Ralia kept looking at the bread as if it might vanish. Zainab ate slowly, forcing herself to chew like someone with manners, even though hunger wanted to swallow everything at once. After they finished, Musa poured water for them. Then he sat them down. "Listen," he said, voice firm now, father voice. The girls straightened immediately. "Help is like rain," Musa continued. "When it falls, it can grow your farm, or it can wash away your seed if you are careless." They stared at him, not fully understanding, but listening. "This man helped us," Musa said. "But we must not waste it. We must not become lazy because of it." Zainab nodded seriously. Ralia asked, "Does it mean we must work too?" Musa smiled sadly. "Yes," he said. "Even children must work. Work in school, work with good behavior, work with discipline." He looked at Zainab. "You are the older one. You must protect your sister." Then he looked at Ralia. "And you," he said gently, "you must listen. Don't let hunger make you rude. Don't let anger make you wicked." Ralia nodded, eyes wide. Then Musa's voice dropped lower, softer, like a secret he was planting in the ground. "Tomorrow," he said, "I will go to Mr. Aiken's shop. He offered me work." Zainab's face lit up. "Work? You won't beg again?" Musa nodded. "God willing." Ralia bounced. "Papa will become rich again." Musa laughed quietly. "Not rich," he corrected, "but stable." He paused, then added, "And he also said you both must return to school." Silence fell. Zainab's throat tightened. "But Papa—" "School fees." Musa lifted his hand. "We will bring the details tomorrow," he said. He didn't promise forever, but he promised to start. The rest, we must fight for it. That night, the girls slept faster than they had in days. Food had softened their bones. Hope had softened their fear. But Musa did not sleep quickly. He lay awake staring at the ceiling, thinking of Mr. Aiken's words, "Education is an umbrella that doesn't tear." Then he remembered the billionaire's face. He didn't hate him, but he made a silent vow. "My daughters will never beg in front of any man again." And somewhere in the quiet darkness, Zainab's eyes opened briefly. She looked at her father's silhouette, then at her sister beside her. In her small heart, she made her own vow too, not of revenge, but of becoming. Morning arrived with the sound of dripping water and stubborn birds. Musa woke up before the sun. He washed his face carefully, as if he could wash away shame too. He wore his cleanest shirt, still old, still faded, but ironed with effort and pride. When poverty is your neighbor, dignity must work overtime. Zainab and Ralia followed him outside barefoot, excited like children going to a festival. "Papa, are we going with you?" Ralia asked, skipping around puddles. Musa smiled. "Yes," he said, "because school is part of this journey." He carried a small file, 2 exercise books, their report cards from the last term, and a paper with their school's name written clearly. He didn't have much, but he carried it like it was a future. Mr. Aiken's printing shop was not big. It sat between a phone repair kiosk and a small provision store. The signboard was old but readable: Aiken Print and Stationery. Inside, the smell of paper and ink filled the air. Machines hummed. A young apprentice looked up, surprised to see Musa enter with 2 girls. Mr. Aiken stepped out from behind a counter. When he saw Musa, he nodded with a calm seriousness. "You came?" he said. Musa bowed slightly. "Yes, sir. Thank you." Mr. Aiken's eyes moved to the girls. "Good morning," he greeted them gently. Zainab answered first, polite and steady. "Good morning, sir." Ralia curtsied awkwardly like she had seen in movies. "Good morning, sir." Mr. Aiken chuckled. "You are strong children," he said. Musa swallowed. "Sir, I brought their school details." Mr. Aiken took the paper and scanned it. He didn't make big speeches. He didn't announce miracles. He only nodded once and asked, "When does school resume?" "Next week," Musa replied. Mr. Aiken nodded again. "Good," he said. "They will resume." Musa's shoulders dropped like a burden had been lifted. His eyes watered, but he blinked it back. Men who are tired of crying learn to hold tears like they hold hunger. Mr. Aiken turned to Musa. "Now," he said, "about work. You will start today." Musa's heart jumped. "Today?" "Yes," Mr. Aiken replied. "Sweeping, organizing paper, running errands. You will learn the machines slowly. If you are honest and consistent, you will grow here. Musa nodded quickly. I will not disappoint you. Mr. Akin looked him in the eyes. Don't thank me with mouth, he said. Thank me with character. Then he called the apprentice. Tunde, show Musa where we keep cartons and paper bundles. He's joining us. The apprentice, Tunde, nodded and led Musa to the back. Musa followed, rolling up his sleeves immediately. Work felt like medicine. Even sweeping the floor felt like a prayer answered. Zainab and Ralia sat on a small bench near the counter. Mr. Akin brought them water. Have you eaten today? He asked. Zainab nodded. Yes, sir. Small. Ralia nodded too, then added honestly, but not plenty. Mr. Akin smiled and brought them 2 meat pies from the provision store next door. The girls ate carefully, like they had been trained not to grab too much from kindness. As Musa worked, he stole glances at his daughters. Seeing them eat without fear did something to his chest. It made him stand straighter. By afternoon, Musa's hands were dusty, his shirt damp with sweat, but his eyes looked brighter than they had in a long time. When Mr. Akin paid him a small amount at the end of the day, transport and food, he called it, Musa held the money like it was sacred. On their way home, Zainab walked close to her father. Papa, she asked quietly, why did that other rich man slap you? But this one helps us. Musa stared ahead at the road. The question carried a child's confusion and a woman's future. He answered softly, because money does not change the heart. It only shows what is inside it. Zainab nodded slowly, storing that sentence like a seed. And behind them the sky cleared just a little, enough for a weak sunlight to break through, as if even the heavens were saying, not all stories end at the slap. School resumed the next week. On the first day, Zainab wore a uniform that was slightly too big. Mr. Akin had insisted they buy it a size larger. Children grow, he said simply. Let the uniform grow with them, not against them. Ralia's uniform was new too, but her sandals were still worn. Musa apologized, embarrassed, but Mr. Akin waved it away. Don't decorate poverty, he told Musa. Solve it. Musa walked the girls to school like a man escorting treasure. Zainab held her books tight. Ralia kept looking at the school gate as if it might close and push her away. But it didn't. The teacher welcomed them, and for the first time in a long time, the girls entered a place that smelled like chalk and possibility. That evening, Musa returned from the shop with a small bag of food. It wasn't much, but it was regular. Regular was a miracle. After dinner, Musa did something that surprised the girls. He brought out an empty tin, an old milk tin, and placed it in the corner of the room. This, he said, tapping it, is our future. Zainab frowned. A tin? Musa nodded. Every day, he explained. No matter how small, we will drop something inside. 10 naira, 20 naira, anything. We will learn saving. Hunger teaches you to eat everything immediately. Wisdom teaches you to plant some. Ralia's eyes widened. Even if it's small? Especially if it's small, Musa said. From that day, the tin began to fill. Some days they dropped coins. Some days they dropped nothing. But the habit itself became their secret weapon. Zainab took it seriously. Too seriously sometimes. When Musa gave her money for snacks, she would return part of it and say, Papa, let's add it to the tin. Ralia would protest, but I want biscuit. Zainab would reply like a small mother, biscuit is sweet today, but hunger is bitter tomorrow. Musa would watch them and smile sadly. Children shouldn't have to learn those lessons so early, but life had already started teaching them. At school, Zainab became known as the girl who always raised her hand, always volunteered, always asked questions that made teachers pause. Ralia was different, quiet, observant, soft-hearted. She would share her pencil with a child who forgot theirs. She would split her lunch even when she didn't have enough. One day, Musa came home exhausted. Business at the shop had been slow. The apprentice had made a mistake that cost money. Musa worried Mr. Aiken might reduce wages. He sat down heavily and covered his face. Zainab immediately noticed. "Papa?" she asked softly. "Is everything okay?" Musa hesitated. He didn't want them to carry adult worries, but their eyes were already carrying too much. "Life is still fighting us," he admitted. Zainab stood up and went to the corner. She brought the tin and placed it in front of him. "Open it," she said. Musa stared. "No, my daughter. That is for emergency." Zainab's face was firm. "This is emergency," she said. Musa's throat tightened. He opened the tin. The coins clinked like tiny voices. It wasn't much, but it was proof. Proof that they were no longer helpless. Musa laughed. A broken laugh that turned into tears. He pulled both girls into his arms. "You see?" he whispered. "You are already becoming." Zainab hugged him back, eyes fierce. That night, long after the girls slept, Musa sat outside under the moonlight. He thought about the billionaire. The slap was still there in his memory like an old scar. But now something else was growing beside it. A plan. A future. And somewhere in the city, far from Musa's leaking roof, the billionaire slept on a soft bed, still rich, still proud, unaware that the little girls he had helped shame were quietly learning how to rise. A year passed, then two. Musa's hands grew used to honest work. At Mr. Aiken's shop, he learned how to bind books, arrange paper, operate simple machines. He became reliable, the kind of man a business leans on without fear. And the girls changed. Zainab's eyes became sharper, like someone always doing calculations in her head. Ralia's heart became softer, like someone who understood pain and refused to share it. One afternoon, Mr. Aiken called Musa aside after closing. "Musa," he said, "you have been faithful." Musa bowed his head. "Thank you, sir." Mr. Aiken shook his head. "Don't thank me yet," he said. "I want to give you something." Musa's body stiffened. Gifts made him nervous. Life had taught him that some gifts carried hidden ropes. Mr. Aiken reached into a drawer and pulled out a small envelope. "Inside is money," he said plainly. "Not for enjoyment, for a small business." Musa's mouth opened slightly. "Sir, I can't take—" "You can," Mr. Aiken interrupted. "But listen well. This is not the kind of help that ends in praise. This is the kind of help that ends in responsibility." Musa swallowed. "A business?" Mr. Aiken nodded. "A small one. Something your family can grow. I've watched your daughters. That older one, Zainab, she has fire. That younger one, Ralia, she has sense. If you guide them well, they won't stay under anyone's roof forever." Musa's eyes filled. "God will bless you, sir." Mr. Aiken lifted a finger. "One condition," he said. Musa froze. "Yes, sir." Mr. Aiken's voice turned firm, like a teacher giving a final instruction. "Never let the business teach your children pride," he said. "And never let the memory of that slap turn into poison. Don't raise girls who want to pay back evil with evil." Musa nodded, heart pounding. "I understand." Mr. Aiken leaned closer. "Because revenge is sweet at first," he said, "but it rots the soul later." Musa held the envelope with both hands like he was holding a fragile egg. He went home that night with trembling steps. When he told the girls, Zainab's eyes brightened like lanterns. "A business?" she repeated. "Papa, what kind?" Musa smiled. "Something small," he said. "We will start with what we know, selling stationery and school supplies, books, pens, printing jobs we can collect and bring to Mr. Aiken's shop." Zainab immediately began to plan. "We can sell near the school," she said quickly. "Students always need pens. And teachers, too." Ralia nodded slowly. "And we must write everything down," she added. "Money that enters, money that leaves." Musa stared at her in surprise. "Yes," he said softly. "You will be the record keeper." From that week, their tiny business began. Every morning before school, Zainab arranged pens and notebooks neatly. After school, she stood by the gate selling to students. Ralia counted money carefully and wrote everything in a small notebook they called the Book of Truth, because numbers don't lie. The business didn't explode overnight. Some days they made profit. Some days they made loss. Some days rain chased customers away, but each day they learned. Then, the fire came. One night they returned from a neighbor's house and saw smoke rising from their side of the compound. "Papa!" Zainab screamed. Musa ran. Their room was burning. The roof crackled. Flames ate their mattress, their clothes, their books. Neighbors threw water, but water was weak against hungry fire. Ralia cried, "Our school books!" Zainab tried to run inside, but Musa grabbed her. "No," he shouted. "You are more important than books." They stood outside watching their little life turn to ash. Musa's knees buckled. Everything they owned, gone. And for a brief moment Zainab's eyes changed. She looked into the flames and whispered, not to anyone but to the universe, "Is this how we will suffer forever?" Musa heard her. He pulled both girls close, his voice shaking but steady. "Listen," he said. "Fire can burn property, but it cannot burn knowledge, it cannot burn discipline, it cannot burn the promise we made." Ralia sobbed into his chest. Zainab stared at the ashes, jaw tight. In that moment something happened in Zainab's heart. The slap had planted a seed. Now the fire watered it with pain. And when a seed meets fire, it doesn't always die. Sometimes, it grows harder. After the fire, the compound felt colder. Not because the weather changed, but because the little comfort they had built was gone. Their uniforms smelled like smoke. Their school books were borrowed. Their business stock, pens, notebooks, everything, had been swallowed by flame. Mr. Aiken helped again, quietly. He didn't shout about it. He simply brought cartons of supplies and said, "Start again." Musa wanted to refuse. Pride tried to rise in his chest like a stubborn weed. But Zainab held his hand that night and said, "Papa, don't refuse the ladder because you're ashamed to climb." Musa looked at his daughter with surprised eyes. The words sounded like an adult's wisdom trapped inside a child's mouth. So they started again, and they grew again. But suffering is sometimes like a debt collector. It doesn't come once and leave. It returns, knocking harder. Musa began to cough. At first it was small, a dry cough after work, a cough at night. He laughed it off and told the girls, "It's only cold." But the cough stayed. It became deeper. It began to steal his breath. His chest sounded like a drum with a crack. Some nights he sat up, unable to lie down. Zainab would pretend she wasn't scared. She would bring him water and say, "Papa, you're strong." Ralia would sit by his feet, silent, praying in the way children pray, simple and desperate. "God, please help my papa," she would whisper, eyes closed tight. "Please." Mr. Aiken noticed too. One afternoon he told Musa, "Go to the clinic." Musa shook his head immediately. "Clinic is money," he replied. Mr. Aiken frowned. "And death is free?" he asked. Musa tried to laugh, but it turned into coughing. Finally he went. The clinic was small and crowded. Musa waited on a wooden bench while sick people stared at their own suffering. When the nurse called him, Musa walked in and sat across from the doctor. After the doctor listened to his chest, the doctor's face tightened. "Musa," he said slowly, "how long has this been happening?" Musa looked away. "Some months." The doctor sighed. "You should have come earlier." Musa swallowed. "Is it bad?" The doctor didn't answer quickly. He wrote something down and said, "You need tests, but your lungs are weak, you must rest." Musa's lips curled in a bitter smile. "Rest?" he repeated. "Who will feed my children if I rest?" The doctor's eyes softened. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "But if you don't rest now, you may rest forever." That night Musa came home with medicine. Zainab took the sachets and arranged them like she was organizing a business. You will take this in the morning, she said, and this at night, and you will not skip. Musa nodded, smiling. Yes, Madam Nurse. But even as he smiled, his eyes looked tired. Days passed. Musa began to work less. Mr. Akin allowed him to sit more in the shop doing lighter tasks. Musa hated it. He hated weakness. He hated being reminded that he was not in control. One evening, Musa returned home earlier than usual and sat on the floor. Zainab noticed his hands were shaking. Papa, she asked, trying not to panic. Are you okay? Musa looked at both girls, his eyes suddenly shining. Come, he said. They sat close, one on each side. Musa took a deep breath, like a man preparing to say goodbye without using the word. My daughters, he began, voice low. Life is not fair. You already know. Zainab nodded, throat tight. Ralia held his sleeve. Musa continued. If anything happens to me. No, Zainab shouted immediately. Nothing will happen. Musa gently lifted his hand. Listen, he said. Sometimes the bravest thing is to prepare. Tears climbed into Ralia's eyes. Papa, don't talk like that. Musa held her cheek. I'm not leaving now, he said softly. But I need to plant words inside you that will grow if I'm not there. He looked at Zainab first. You, he said. You are fire. Fire can cook food, but fire can burn houses. Control your anger. Use it to build, not destroy. Zainab's tears fell silently. Then Musa turned to Ralia. And you, he said, you are water. Water can heal, but water can also drown you in fear. Be courageous. Speak when you must. Ralia cried openly now. Musa pulled them close. One more thing, he whispered, voice shaking. Never forget the promise. Don't become wicked. Don't become proud. If you become rich, be kind. If you become powerful, be gentle. He kissed their heads. That night the girls slept beside him, refusing to leave his side. In the early hours before the first rooster crowed, Zainab woke up and listened. The room was too quiet. She sat up quickly and looked at her father. Musa? She whispered. No answer. She touched his hand. It was cold. For a second, the world stopped making sense. Papa? She called louder. Ralia woke up. What is it? Zainab shook Musa's shoulder, panic rising like flood. Papa! Papa! Neighbors rushed in. Someone screamed. Someone prayed loudly. Someone tried to lift him. But Musa had already gone. And in that small room, burnt once by fire, now burnt by loss, two young girls sat with their father's body and felt something heavy enter their lives. Not hunger, not poverty, something deeper. Orphanhood. And somewhere in the city, the billionaire who slapped Musa years ago was still sleeping comfortably, unaware that the man he humiliated had died, and left behind two daughters whose lives were about to change forever.